a really exciting day because Wanchain is a smart contract platform, and our unique contribution to the space is our cross-chain capabilities. And so Wanchain has the ability to connect all the world's digital assets. You can think of it kind of like Grand Central Station. All the trains kind of move into Wanchain. And it solves one of these big problems which the industry currently faces, which is interoperability. Right now we live in a world the blockchain world looks more like the days of the intranet before the global internet was created that connected all the various networks. And so Wanchain does this through something called secure multi-party compute. We won't be getting into too many of the details today on our cross-chain capabilities, but suffice it to say it allows you for the building and the construction of very highly performant applications and to solve some unique problems that otherwise are very challenging and require very complex solutions. And so today, being a smart contract platform, what we know firmly to be true is that our platform will be judged by the quality and quantity of applications built on top of it. That's why I'm really proud to announce WanLab, which is Wanchain's blockchain accelerator. WanLab is, you can think of it more like a traditional accelerator. We provide resources, mentorship, guidance, technical support, but it's purpose-built for the needs of blockchain companies. Being veterans of the blockchain space, what we know is that building blockchains and distributed applications is very challenging. We live in a world that is at such a bleeding edge that oftentimes we come into encounter problems and landmines and roadblocks that no one has ever really faced before. And so being veterans in the industry, WanLab has been constructed to help these projects that are building on top of Wanchain grow quickly, grow rapidly, and to build the right applications and use cases that can move the industry forward. If you think about what kind of challenges these projects face, they face legal, they face technical. Lots of them need very similar like branding and PR resources. And so these are all resources that we can provide at Wanchain through WanLab to grow and nourish our ecosystem. Our first three projects are Abacus, Freedom, and CryptoCurve. One of the things that we think a lot about at Wanchain, being a blockchain that works to connect all the world's blockchains, is we think about ecosystems. And things are much more powerful when they're connected, when they're mindfully connected. And so these first three projects are not standalone islands. Similarly, when we think about the larger blockchain ecosystem, what we see are all of these islands everywhere, these blockchains that can't talk to each other. And so while our core technology solves that, within our ecosystem, we also want the applications that are built within Wanchain to reinforce one another. So for example, Abacus is building automated financial infrastructure. I'll be introducing Prad here in a second, who'll be telling you more about it, but their technology is going to be leveraged by Freedom, which is our stablecoin built to solve some of the problems in the financial inclusion space. And it's also going to be integrated into our CryptoCurve wallet, which is the front end for Wanchain. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to Prad, who's going to tell you a little bit about Abacus.
Hi everyone. I'm Padiman Big, co-founder of Abacus, and today I'll be giving you guys a brief introduction of the Abacus protocol. So today, whether it's businesses trying to raise money through equity or debt, or individuals transacting with each other, financial agreements are overly reliant on central parties that add time, cost, and complexity to the settlement process. As the only trusted entities in today's finance industry, banks, brokers, and exchanges control the flow of all capital and act as gatekeepers to an industry worth over $800 trillion. Abacus challenges this status quo. It's an open protocol for services that facilitate financial agreements on the blockchain. What it does is it breaks up what central parties do in today's financial industry into smaller, more modular services like identity, compliance, appraisal, or risk assessment, and enables them to be represented as autonomous smart contracts on the blockchain. By removing middlemen and replacing them with smart contracts, Abacus creates a more efficient financial infrastructure that's cheaper, faster, and more reliable for other blockchain projects to build on top of. All of our work with the Abacus protocol plays into our mission of creating the decentralized financial infrastructure of the future and paving the way to the total automation of financial agreements. Thanks for joining me here today to get a brief introduction on Abacus. We're excited to work with Wanchain and bring this technology to the network. I'll be giving the stage over to Freedom, one of our first partners on Wanchain.
Hello everybody, my name is Keba Kand. I'm from Senegal in West Africa. I'm the chairman and CEO of Millennium Finance Corporation, an investment bank I established in Dubai in 2005. Since 2005, we've been focusing on Africa and emerging economies, and I've been doing transactions in our target region. We have accomplished more than $30 billion worth of transactions to date. And although now we see that Africa has been the second fastest growing region in the world after China for the last decade, we all agree that for Africa to catch up with the rest of the world, we need something disruptive. And that disruptive thing is the blockchain. We at Freedom are trying to find a solution to address all the problems of Africa and developing countries in one go using the blockchain. The first issue is that the weakness of the banking sector in Africa. You have basically less than 20% of the adult population in Africa that has access to bank accounts, and a fraction of that has access to credit. You also have the second point, which is weak and volatile currencies. You know, when the largest economy in Africa, Nigeria, sees its currency drop by 30% or 40% in 1 year, that's a problem for the entire continent. That means that when traders in Africa want to trade with the rest of the world, they have to access foreign currency, the dollar or the euro. But with de-risking that's happening since 2008, with global banks shutting down correspondent banking lines with African banks, it's becoming more and more difficult to access the foreign exchange. Last but not the least, in Africa, our economies are commodity dependent, meaning that 50%, sometimes 90% of the GDP of a country depends on commodities. But commodity owners don't have access to financing, and that allows commodity traders to actually take advantage of these countries. So at Freedom, we've come up with a solution to address all these issues in one go. We are launching the first commodities-backed stable currency that will allow commodities owners to have access to financing, and at the same time generate a currency that is stable and digital, allowing efficient trade, efficient remittances, financial inclusion, microfinance. And in that way, we are addressing all issues because we no longer have the issue of weak and volatile currencies. We no longer need to have access to foreign exchange. People have access to financing across the continent, and we can develop financial inclusion around that. The Freedom Coin offers a number of advantages. Obviously, we provide financing to people, but at the same time, it is a stable currency. It is a currency that is accessible everywhere in the world. It's censorship resistant, and it allows us to develop an ecosystem of solutions for the people in Africa. Just to put things in perspective, when we talk about African developing economies, we're talking about 85% of the world population. We're talking about 6 billion people. We're talking about 60% of the world GDP. We're talking about 80% of global growth since 2008. So by addressing the problem of this population in this country, we think that we can make this world a better place. We have actually joined forces with the leading companies in technology in the blockchain industry, such as Wanchain, Vapor, and Big Sapphire, and using solutions that are coming out of this ecosystem that are the best solution available for compliance, as well as for wallets such as CryptoCurve and Abacus. But most importantly, we have assembled the team that is second to none, including the global head of, the former global head of blockchain at IBM, including the chairman of Pershing Securities, including the CEOs of some of the largest correspondent banks, and equally qualified people in terms of technology and in terms of business development. So we do believe that we can make this happen. And at Freedom, what we're trying to do is to redefine the meaning of freedom. I don't think that freedom is just the right to think and say what you want. It is also the right to exist economically. And we think that we will be able to deliver this message to the whole continent of developing countries. So if you like my definition of freedom, we invite you to join us at Freedom, and I thank you for your time.
There's no slides. And this is me, guys. I'm not going to give Kiva credit for this slide. You guys excited yet? All right. My name is Josh, and I'm the CEO and founder of CryptoCurve. Now, back in the 80s, accessing the internet was extremely difficult. I don't know if anybody here could have done it, but while it was developed, you needed special skills and knowledge to tap into it. And then in the 90s, the browser came along. The browser instantly gave internet access to everyone. Suddenly, people like my grandma could log onto a computer and use the internet. That is so powerful. When you enable people to do something, a large amount of people to do something that has never been done before, you can change the world. We need a browser for blockchain. But not just any blockchain, we need a browser for all blockchains. That's what Wanchain is offering. By building on top of them, you can be the browser to all blockchains. And that's what we're building, the Curve wallet. Now, you might be asking yourselves, wallet? What? It's a very good question, and a wallet isn't going to achieve the mass adoption that we want. We need three things. We need an engaging user experience and user interface. That's one. Two, we need partnerships, and the right partnerships. And three, we need the right roadmap. So one, user interface. What does that mean? We're not going to bring new people into this space without an engaging UI, and I love that word, engaging. You should be able to give a wallet like this to somebody that's never invested in cryptocurrency before, and they should pick it up, understand it, and start using it right away. Two, partnerships. We know that we can't do this alone. We need partnerships, we need help. Having Wanchain's interoperability allows us to build on top of all blockchains. It gives us the ability to be the browser to all blockchains. A stablecoin like Freedom allows seamless integration to a stable currency that can be built right in. And a really robust compliance layer like Abacus is extremely important for our back end. Now, number three, roadmap. We know that we're not going to give access to everyone or achieve mass adoption for blockchain right away. It's going to take time. So what we need to do is engage you guys, the guys in this room and the girls in this room, excuse me. We have to bring the current community in and get them involved. Now, how do we do that? We develop features that the current community is interested in. Features like a decentralized exchange right on top of your wallet, especially using Wanchain's interoperability, we can bring other blockchains in. What about the ability to pool and invest in ICOs from that wallet? Staking Curve tokens to get parts of those ICOs that go through the platform. And things like the nuke button, allowing you to convert your entire portfolio or a percentage of your portfolio directly into Ethereum, Bitcoin, or Freedom. That has so many use cases. Now, circling back, we have those three things. We've got the UI. we have the right partnerships, and we have a strong roadmap. And our company has a cryptocurrency investment background, so we know this is a tool that we really want to use. Now, if we can get you guys on board, we can move further and we can bring blockchain to everyone. But I love this wallet. I am super excited to use features like the nuke button, and I want to get you guys involved. So come see us, and we are building something that's so big and important this space has never seen, and we're really excited to bring it to you. Thank you guys very much. I look forward to talking to you.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it, Kip and Nikhil. What you can see now is that we're mindfully constructing the Wanchain ecosystem. So when we have these three partners, Josh talked extensively about the partnerships that we're building. The idea is that these three projects reinforce each other. You have this beautiful UI that Josh and his team has constructed, and on it will live the Freedium stablecoin. And I'm not sure you caught it, but Kip's background, his investment banking firm, they've conducted approximately $30 billion of deals in the EMEA region, and he actually ran for president of Senegal. So if anybody has some idea about the industry that they're attacking, it's him and his team. Similarly, Abacus is the infrastructure layer that these projects will leverage. Rebuilding finance is a very ambitious goal. And one of the ways that we do it and we will achieve it is by breaking it down into modular pieces, and Abacus is the way that we'll achieve that. But we're going to go one step further, because it's not just about the Western world. A lot of people talk about us, the reference is always to cross-chain, but potentially the biggest value prop that we have is cross-culture. Wanchain is located in, our foundation is in Singapore, and we have headquarters in Austin, Texas, and Beijing. And so we have the ability to bridge the gap, to bring together East and West in a way that's never been done before. And so I'm really excited to announce to you these next three projects that all come from China and all are established Chinese companies with millions of users who see the value in Wanchain and blockchain technology to not only transform their business, but to rebuild their industry. And one final piece, a little bit of a teaser that we're going to touch on today, is a new piece to the Wanchain infrastructure. It's something we call industry chains. So while the previous three projects were all sort of low-level infrastructure or applications, these three projects, AllSpark, GameBank, and UTour, are actually standalone blockchains that will leverage our cross-chain technology. And in the coming months, we'll be telling you more and more about the reasons for this design choice and how these will be bridged to the main chain. It's going to be, we think it's something that really helps with scaling, censorship resistance, platform-grade censorship resistance, and a number of other features. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce Bowen, who's going to talk to you about rebuilding the travel industry.
Thank you, Dustin. Good afternoon, everyone. What's up? How is your trip here in Dubai? I guess many of you travels here. I assure you this is a project related to every one of you. We are actually, sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Dao. I'm the co-founder of UTour. You travel, you tour. We are mission to create a new distributed tourism services which to rebuild the travel industry. Compared to the traditional tourism industry, the online travel agency monopolize the information, the price, transaction between the real providers and the customers. So while the suppliers make little profit, but the OTA become online travel agency make most of the profit on the value chain. But as a result, the customer cannot get well serviced and pay much more. So with the DTS, we call UTour DTS, the blockchain technology into this system, we try to flatten the online travel agency to the same layer as the real service providers. Let's say a chef, a driver, a guide, and many different kind of roles. So our mission is trying to make the suppliers to make more money and by doing better services, and the customer can get more diversified and customized services by we get willing to pay more for better. So why we can achieve this? That is because we use this technology and the theory already to help our partners to grow their business. Number one, the first partner we have is called Global Joy Tour, which is only formed half a year ago, but grow very fast. They have 90,000 members in the system, which is mostly the private guide in the system. They already served over 5 million users in the systems. So we try to directly connect the suppliers and the customers, and trying to remove the centralized OTA system. We also have our number 2 partners, which is called Direct Booking, which have over 6,000 hotels in China. It's the top hotel SaaS provider in China. We also have Fastco, responsible for foreigners' accommodation and travel in China. And we also have some other partners in Korea, Japan, and United States. So our goal is trying to make the suppliers more motivated to make more money by doing better, and the customers to have the willing to pay more for better services. Thank you very much. Let's welcome the next speaker, Chris, for GameBank.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris. I come from the Game Bank, just like our name, Game Bank. Yes, we love game and we make game. And look at this picture. I'm so proud to introduce our games. And especially for this one, Chinese name is Wanchain, and our company spent almost 3 years to develop these games. And I'm so lucky they has registered member over 20 million active players around the world at this moment. And for our games, we had potential members over 20 billion. And these reasons for these famous Chinese game companies are continuously advanced strategic cooperative partnership with us. And for these game developers, they are like to continue making effort with us and to enjoy reality in the future beyond blockchain's industry. And maybe you will say, oh Chris, you're so lucky because you choose the right industry and you can earn money. But the fact is, less than 15% profit from payment we can get. And as these factors, that is, we always lack of fundings. And you know there's much more commercial requirement to this, and less attention on quality of game. That making our developers are losing their enthusiasm and talent for develop and whatever they are interested and favorite games. And I also am a player, and every year I will spend a lot of time and money on playing kinds of games. But when I start to play a new game, I always ask myself, Chris, are you crazy? Because how to deal with your game assets for the last game, and how to exchange that, and how to protect your game assets, that's a question. And finally, I find my game asset is no further value, and that's a problem. And that is also our game bank want to do. And what is the game bank? Please look at this picture. Our game bank is a platform for game makers and players and third-party developers. And the game makers, they can distribute their developed games on our platform is freely, and also they can get 100% profit from our GameBank platform as soon as possible. And for players, they also can search, purchase, and download their favorite games on our GameBank platform as quickly. And also, they can exchange their game assets conveniently and faster. Also, these players can write comments and suggestions to release all these real information on our GameBank's platform. Let them, our makers know what kinds of items they should be improved that make them game is more interesting. And also, our GameBank can provide kinds of API resources for the third-party developers that make them to develop a service route for game makers and players. Above all, because we gathered experiences over 8 years, we know that how to do is better for game makers. And we also know that what kinds of interesting games we are developed to players to play in the future. And we also know what kinds of process to third-party developers. That is our GameBank's mission. And we want to rebuild the game industry. And just like our GameBank's slogan, let's play the game another way. Thanks for attention. And let's welcome our partner, Allspark, Calvin.
Hi, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. My name is Kevin Cook, and I'm going to present on behalf of the Allspark chain. And our goal is to form a complete blockchain ecology to link all of the components in the relationship for content creators, advertisers, and self-media, people like you and me who use social media. So before I get into it, I'll introduce my team. We are based in China. We've got a stellar team with almost 50 years of experience in social media marketing and advertising. I've got the least, but as a content creator, this is very applicable for me. Our team has worked with, as an agent on these platforms like Facebook, Baidu, Google. These are powerhouses, 20,000 plus advertisers, and totaling more than $1 billion USD in annual revenue. So let's dive into this. So there's a problem that exists in the relationship between people who create content, advertisers, and the self-media. For advertisers, right, the cost per click, the cost per 1,000 impressions is getting higher while the conversion rate is getting lower, which leads to higher and higher costs. ROI and expense data is practically impossible to monitor because the information that you're receiving is given to you by the service providers. So how do you really know that that data is true? It's not transparent. For self-media, right, I'm sure you've heard of the Matthew effect. This essentially is the rich get richer while the poor get poorer. And the same is applied to people who work in self-media, right? It's very difficult for the right eyes to see your content, which leads to a huge decrease in enthusiasm for you to share relevant content. And finally, for content creators, it's very difficult for grassroots content creators to emerge on these centralized platforms, no matter how great the content you're producing is. And at the end of the day, there's no proof of ownership. So even if you do produce something incredible and you share it, how is that linked back to you? I've had this happen to me personally many times as a content creator who lives in China. I've seen the content I upload on platforms like YouTube re-uploaded by someone else, and I have no power to claim that and reap the benefits from it. So the Allspark ecology could fix this problem by linking all the components in this relationship. It would make all the expense data clear for advertisers. It would increase security, it would increase speed, and ensure that all of the content creators have proper ownership of their own content. And all of this is made possible with the Allspark token, which it's indispensable because in this entire ecosystem, the Allspark token would serve as a form of value consensus for all contents created across all platforms, centralized and decentralized. And so in the future, when decentralized apps continue to emerge, and they will. I've met many people today who are creating and developing their own decentralized apps. We welcome these apps to join our ecosystem. And we are going to cater to these apps as they emerge. And I've got a couple scenarios here. The first one is one way that the AllSpark chain could benefit content creators. So there's an American content creator, or an American novelist named Bob. He publishes his novel to AllSpark, and a Chinese reader named Wang sees this novel. It's a great novel. And he decides to adapt it because he thinks other Chinese readers might want to see it too. So he reaches out to Bob, they negotiate a smart contract, and then both of them can in turn publish this novel onto AllSpark for Chinese readers to see. Chinese readers can then share the novel on their respective social media platforms. We have WeChat, Weibo, QQ, some of the ones our Chinese audience members might be familiar with. And in turn, everyone in this relationship will receive a fair dividend for their share of work. So the self-media, the people who share it will get a share, as well as Bob and Wang. All right, and here is a scenario of how an advertiser can benefit from interacting on the AllSpark chain. There is a company that wants to market its tour to the Antarctic. So it publishes a mission onto the AllSpark chain. There's a copywriter and there's a photographer. They're in different countries, but that's okay because they can negotiate a smart contract, form both of their contents together to complete this mission, publish it onto AllSpark, and once the self-media see this and begin to share it, everyone again will receive a fair dividend for their work. The self-media who share this, why shouldn't they be able to receive some kind of compensation for sharing an idea that they think is worth sharing? As well as, of course, the travel agency and the two UGCs, the two content creators who make this content. So that's wrapping it up for me. Thank you so much for listening. And thanks, guys.
All right, well, let's give a big round of applause for WANLab's first inaugural class. So if you're